Hey everybody, it's Greg again. I'm going to start off this winch video kind of going over the SuperATV winch. Now this is the Black Ops winch that I purchased from SuperATV. It's a winch I decided to go for. I would suggest if you want to learn more about the winch itself, head over to superatv.com and they've got some nice videos kind of going over how well built these Black Ops winches are. Now, everything that comes in the box, this is everything I actually had left after I did the install. It doesn't really come with instructions as far as setting up the winch. It's pretty simple if you've ever done one before. I mean, it's pretty basic. You know, you got a blue and a yellow wire that run from the winch to the solenoid. Then you've got your positive battery, negative battery that runs from the solenoid to your battery. And then on the solenoid, there's 3 pins that you use 3 wires to connect to whatever switch you're going to use for the winch. So all of that's pretty basic. Now, one thing I ran into when I got this kit that I wasn't expecting was the size of the solenoid. This thing is gigantic and it's heavy. It's very cool. It's all sealed. It's all a sealed unit. For you guys that like to submerge your quads and things like that, this would be really good for that. It also has a wireless remote capability built in. So it's a super nice unit, but it's just super big and super heavy. And there was nowhere I was going to mount that or find a place to mount that on my Outlander. So at that point, I decided to go ahead and get the factory solenoid and not use this. So that's why that's left in here. I guess this looks like the switch that came with it. Didn't use that. I used a rocker switch. The fair lead was too small. Did not fit. You had to order a full-size fair lead. Some handlebar mounting hardware, which again I did not use. I cut all my cables to fit exact length. That's why you see all this excess cable. Battery cable. This is all excess. I used a very short. All this. I mean, it's nice to have extra wire for other projects. But yeah, I actually ran a very short one, just like the Can-Am instructions show, a very short from the solenoid to the frame. There's a place they already have designated on the frame right by the solenoid for the negative wire. This is their little SuperATV's little rubber protector. I didn't use that. I bought a green one to match the quad or to go with the quad. Now again, their wireless remote is built into here. I did not use that. If I want to use if I want to set up a wireless remote in the future, they're pretty simple to do. It's just a matter of hooking a few wires to the solenoid, and then of course this is the remote they give you for the wireless that I didn't use. So that's why all of this extra stuff is in here. This I didn't use. They also give you a mounting plate, which is not needed. The winch bolts right up to the existing factory holes that are on the machine, so you don't need that. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of detail that. And then let's go ahead and go over to where the winch is mounted. Now this isn't going to be an install video. Obviously the winch is already installed. You can see it down here. Let's get some little better light in here. You can see it down here. This is going to be more of the details, some helpful hints, the wiring that I used, you know, why I did what I did and everything. And so that can maybe help you when you get ready to install a different winch other than a Can-Am winch. Now, the nice thing about the Can-Am winches, if you've studied them at all, they're expensive, typically around $500. But the nice part is that it comes with all of the wiring. The whole machine is already laid out to accept their wiring. It's a very easy install if you want to go that route. I was probably close to 500 with the different wires and things I purchased. I just didn't want the Can-Am winch. I wanted a better winch, and that's why I went with the SuperATV winch. But you can see in here, let me get this stuck back in here somewhere. I guess we'll just hang it right there for now. But yeah, you can see I ran quarter, I guess a little bit bigger. This is probably three-quarter loom off the main 2 wires, the blue and the yellow, and then into a 1-inch loom here that runs up. And again, I followed the instructions on the Can-Am website, in the install instructions, wired everything, pretty much followed the same wire paths that they do in their installation online. And yeah, other than that, obviously you're not going to see all of the factory wiring, everything that was installed. A lot of, that's all Where's the solenoid's in? The solenoid is in behind this panel here. I probably should have taken that off so I could show you that. But yeah, the solenoid is mounted mounted on the side of the air box. And again, that was one of the reasons why I went with the factory solenoid. I wanted to use the factory stock location. That's where Can-Am designed it to be. And it's hidden pretty well, as far as water protection and everything up behind this panel. But again, I'm not a mudder. I don't submerge. I don't ride this thing like a submarine or do any of that crazy stuff. I'm mostly just going to do trail riding. Obviously, you're gonna run into some mud at some point, but I'm not too worried. I've got everything pretty well covered under here. Other than that, so what I ended up getting the Can-Am solenoid, factory solenoid wire. I'm going to switch over to desktop mode and go through some of the Can-Am website, show where to get the part numbers, where I got my part numbers, how much those cost, and everything that I did for my setup. Now, one thing I didn't do, Can-Am, the handlebars, let me swoop around here to the other side real quick. Bear with me. Yeah, this is actually, you can see there's a little screw here, a little cap. You can pop this off, and that's where the factory switch goes. Now, I could have gone that route, and I still might at some point, but that cable, that little short cable, is $92. And I just could not bring myself to spend $100 on that little cable for the switch. So I just put another rocker switch in right here, and I've got the winch set up right here on a rocker switch instead of that expensive $100 cable. And then this is my LED light bar. So that's what I did. I just wired it up to these are water resistant switches, not waterproof. They do have a rubber gasket that goes in underneath here. But that's where I wired it up to avoid having to buy that $100 cable. And I don't know, at some point I may go back to that route just to have it full clean factory install and have the thumb controller up here. But at any rate, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and switch over at this point to desktop and kind of run you through the install instructions, the parts and different things, and everything I did to included in what I did to finish mine. I'll show you I got my own fair lead, the right size fair lead that I had to drill or get hardware for that. Did have to drill the hole slightly bigger for the hardware to get it mounted, and then you can see my little green protector there. One thing in regards to the XU models, and I really don't understand why Canon did this. When you buy an XU, the front bumper does not come with the hook. There's normally a hook and a loop right here where you can run the winch up and connect it up here. But if you buy an XU bumper, it does come with that loop. So I don't know why Can-Am did that. Kind of pisses me off. But at any rate, I found a solution for that I'll cover in another video that will have a loop up here. I'm going to move this LED light with two hangers up here and move it up to free up the two holes here where I'll be mounting that loop for the winch hook. Okay, off to the desktop. Okay, in the desktop portion of this video, I'm going to go over some details about the winch and also cover the wiring and different things you'll need if you want to use some of the Can-Am parts and wiring and mounting systems. Now, this is the winch I purchased, SuperATV. One thing I noticed, this was called the Black Ops Winch. At first, I thought I had the wrong page, but it looks like maybe for whatever reason they stopped using that terminology. It used to say Black Ops. But at any rate, that's what it said on the box. But this is the winch here. All kinds of information on it. Installation instructions here. You can read more about it. There are some videos as well on YouTube that cover, that go over a review of this winch. I believe SuperATV has a review of themselves. I'll try to include links to all that stuff down below in the description. But this is the winch I decided to go with. Now, as far as instructions on mounting it, if you go over to the Can-Am website and you go, this would be the version, the Can-Am version of that winch right here, the 3500 synthetic rope. And you can see it's $535, where this one is $275. So you can see there's quite a bit of difference in price also. And that was another reason. Now, again, I did end up spending a bit more because I got some of the factory parts, and we'll go over that. But this is where you can find the instructions. You see right here, installation instructions for the Can-Am winch, and you're going to want that. You'll see here, ATV kit winch cam, click that. And a couple reasons, this gives you the instructions. So this is going to show all of your factory locations for the wiring and everything. Keep in mind, it's going to use the Can-Am winch, but for example, here's the solenoid and where the solenoid mounts, and then it also covers all the wiring and everything. How to route all the wiring. So this is a great source, something cool that that Can-Am does. Now down here, this illustration here, if you right click and open image in new tab, it's going to blow that thing up here so you can read the part numbers. And the things that I purchased, I got the solenoid here, the P6, the solenoid, and I also got the P15 and the P14, the little mounting hardware for it. So that was one little piece I ordered. You don't need to order the nuts and washers; those already come with it. But I ordered this solenoid, and then I ordered the P10. And basically, this is the wire that goes onto the three connectors here for the switch that would go up to your handlebar switch if you decide to use that. Now again, I did not opt for that handlebar switch. It's the P5 right here because it's almost $100, which I think is ridiculous. I just wasn't going to pay $100 for a wire. So I opted to, I did use this P10 connector, but I opted to, and I'll show that in some pictures here. But I opted to connect this to a rocker switch up on the top of the machine. But yeah, so all you're going to need to do, you need this to get the part numbers. So if we come down here and you look for let's see where we want the P10. So you come down and look for P10 here, solenoid harness, and you get this part number. And then I ordered all the parts from Partzilla. You simply come over, put the part number in the search box, click enter, and it's going to come right over to the wire that you need. Now, why not? Bear with me here. I might have miscopied something. Yeah, I added a little too much there to the number. There we go. So there's your wiring harness. And you can see from my orders here, 2 orders here on the 10th. You can see here's the solenoid, the 2 spring nuts, and then the 2 bolts to mount that to the side of the airbox. And all total, shipping was pretty steep, especially these are pretty small parts. But total $80 for those. So let's figure we had $275. I think with tax and shipping, the winch was $291. So let's set $291, and then let's add another $80.78. And then let's back out to the next one. And the next one's just going to be that wiring harness. Wiring harness winch right here. And then what this is the bolt and washer, the factory. Again, you could piece this stuff out at your Ace Hardware or wherever, and maybe save a little bit of money. I just wanted to do it out of convenience. $1.07 for the bolt, $1 for the washer, little washer, and that is to mount the ground wire to the frame. There's already a location right next to the solenoid where you're going to mount the negative wire coming off the solenoid. So that was $56.88. Let's add that onto our total here. So you can see we're at $428.66. And I don't believe I ordered. The only other thing I had to get was a Fairlead. I did not use their roller Fairlead. Well, I didn't order that winch, but and that was on Amazon. Again, I'll put a link to that. The one that comes in the SuperATV, I think I mentioned that in the beginning video, does not fit. It's too small, so you have to get a bigger Fairlead. And then I also ordered my own green rubber protector for the cable. But yeah, so that's what you're looking at. Again, $428. So you're getting close to $534. Let's subtract that. I mean, it's a difference of $100. So I've got in my mind, I have a better winch, and I have the factory wiring, which is very clean. Uses the factory wiring here. This cable here, the P7, that's basically your blue and yellow coming off the winch. And again, I just cut those to size. Now, the SuperATV kit did come with some extra battery terminals and some heat shrink for cutting the cables to size. So I cut my own yellow and blue, ran those off the winch up to the solenoid. The P8 is your cable from the solenoid to the battery. I also made my own cable for that.
So yeah, so basically all I used was the solenoid mounting hardware and the P10, and then I made everything else myself. I did not use the switch wire here. I wired to a rocker switch. Excuse me. So that covers the mounting and everything of it. I'm gonna pause here and grab a couple pictures and pull those up. Okay, I'm gonna go through some pictures here. I've got all of these uploaded to my Google Photos account, but thought I'd cover some of these here. Now, Can-Am again makes it very slick. They already have power connectors added to the machine so that you don't have to splice in any wires. There's a wire already up underneath the front end of the machine. You see here, if you pop open the forward console where the air filter, the air box, and your breathers are, your vent tubes, you'll find that, I believe, that little piece. It's in here somewhere. I don't remember exactly where, but so what you can do once you find that's just a cover. You take that off, and then again, I'll include the link. There's these little jumper wires that you can get off Amazon. They come two to a set, and they basically allow you to plug into that factory plug that's already available, and then it also gives you another lead, a hot lead. So it's basically a two wire where one plugs into the existing plug for power, and then allows you another power wire to splice into whatever else you're going to power up. So I use that. I use several of those to run power both to my my street legal kit and also my LED front light bar. Now, in regards to the winch, let's scroll down a little bit here. Here you can see the install. Here's a shot. Let me go ahead and. Here's a shot of the solenoid. Now this is the factory solenoid, all in its stock location. Again, here's the little ground wire. And like I said, there's already a spot here on the frame. I probably could have shortened that up a little bit, but no big deal. Could have shortened that up a little bit, but that's where the stock location is to fasten the ground wire. And then obviously you've got, you look at your controls or your colors here, color codes for your other wires. Negative here. I guess, not sure. Anyway, I had all that figured out. And then right here is your 3 pins for, this is for wiring in your switch. So let's go ahead and fast forward. Oh, there we go. There's the rocker switch that I used and mounted on the machine. Put that over here to the left. I already had a rocker switch for the light bar on the right here. Now, in order to, if you come here to this image, when you plug these 3 wires on the P10, these go to your solenoid. That's a ground wire. Mounts in that same spot where the ground wire is. And then this, gosh, I'm wanting to say this is what plugs into your power. Now right here is a plug that comes off of this P10, and that's for your switch wires. That's a 3-pin. What the heck? Weather deck? I forget the name. It's a 3-pin plug, and I did not want to cut that. So what I did, I found a female end that would fit onto there. And again, we'll go into the pictures, and that's what this is. So this wire here that you see with the green, blue, red, that's your factory wire. And I got this plug here so I would not have to cut into that. And then all I had to do was match up this gray, yellow, and blue with the factory switch wires, or the rocker switch, which is your green, black, and red. So and then these run up to my rocker switch, which we had right back. Bear with me here, folks. Yeah, right here. So these is where I wired those up. You could, since this is a 7-pin switch, you could run this to have light when the switch is on and off. I didn't feel the need to do that with the winch, with the winch switch, because it's a pretty basic rocker switch, just in and out. But yeah, so I got all that done. Let's see if there's anything else here. Ran all the wires, and again, snaked all the wires around here. Everything is pretty accessible. Run things up to the handlebars. Rocker switch ran underneath, goes underneath here to the, obviously, where the phone holder container panel is. And that's one too far, the chainsaw. So anyway, that's how I had all that wired, and those are the parts I used: the P10, the solenoid. So if you want to, follow that route, this is how you locate all the parts. Obviously, and again, you've got all your instructions on where all your wiring goes in all the factory locations. just follow these right along. They do have these fancy little zip tie clips where they go into holes on the frame. Obviously, I didn't use those. I just basically use zip ties around the frame in these locations to follow that same factory pattern. But it's all laid out here for you. Solenoid. Here's your switch wires. Here's connecting to the factory. Let's blow that one up. Yeah, you can see right here. Here's this goes up to your power here, winds through, and here's your 3 connectors that go onto the solenoid. And again, this is where you tap into your power right here, and you use one of those jumpers. And again, I'll link. Let me pause real quick. I'll go grab a pic of those and pull them up real quick. Bear with me. Okay, here's those little connectors I was talking about. And you see here, the one end plugs right into the existing power source on the machine, and then it gives you another little. Actually, let's see. This plugs in. There we go. So yeah, one end it plugs in, and then this gives you your lead onto whatever it is you're powering, whether it's your lights or winch or street legal kit. Really handy though. You don't end up having to. You can pigtail these. Piggyback them onto each other and not have to cut any factory wires. And then it runs all through the factory system. But I'll put links to those as well. I'm trying to think if I've missed anything. Like I said, really nice install. I'll list all the parts and wires and everything, but that's basically how you would run through to get the parts that you need if you want to use some of the factory wiring. And it would be for any other winch, not just the SuperATV, but really any other winch you want to mount if you want to use the factory parts and locations. So I know I've ran a lot of information through this video. It ended up being kind of long, but if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to help. All right, thanks again.